Awesome. Welcome again. We are the technical tokenomics working group for Flow, um, and I would perhaps start with a brief introduction to as to why we set up the tokenomics working group, and following that with introductions by all the members here and some ideas on what they think are the top priorities in terms of tokenomics for Flow. Then we would discuss the operating practices of the tokenomics working group, just gathering ideas as to how we should kind of go about it. And then we would spend some time to plan the next meeting, just the agenda, the time, the date, etc., and any other topics that the group feels are important to be considered during this meeting, and Q&A at the end. Um, awesome. So we essentially started thinking about, as we kind of started thinking about the principles of building an open and transparency and decentralization more widely and more deeply. We thought that it should not just span to these ideas should not just span to development, but also to the issues of tokenomics and governance. And that kind of became the primary reason why we decided to set something up, like a committee up, which uh, brings all the community members who have kind of expertise in different topics around tokenomics and governance, and who have some experience with Flow blockchain, would be able to contribute ideas. So this is that forum where we want the community to bring in their ideas and thoughts on what should be done. And therefore, we formed this TWG. The objectives being simply making transparent and inclusive decisions on key tokenomics concerns, building innovative economic solutions to different challenges that the network faces, and finally, driving an economic model that helps widespread adoption of Flow amongst Web3 users, and of course, like a larger Web2 community around the world. We started off with a community-driven nomination process, where we kind of started with a forum post inviting community members to nominate experts in the fields, in the fields of development, economics, financial markets, dApp building, entrepreneurship, node operations, and we got a ton of nominations. And based on those nominations, we kind of went through all the nominations that we received, and you guys are kind of a part of the final initial founding members of this group. We have a great composition, and with that, I would love for us to go through a round of introduction. I would appreciate if every member could briefly introduce themselves. Uh, Feel free to introduce yourself, but also feel free to stay anonymous, since we believe in anonymity, if that's someone's choice. Uh, please otherwise, like, share your experience in Web3, how you feel about like Flow ecosystem, and what you think are the top tokenomics priorities that should be discussed by this group going forward. And perhaps I will start, and then we can just go down the list. My name is Shitich. It's a complicated Sanskrit word, but you can call me KC, which are my initials. I have a background in microeconomics. That was what my master's was back in 2012. And thereafter, I worked with different governments in Africa and Asia as an economist, before I kind of switched to tech in a product management role. Worked with Amazon and joined Flow last year. And I've been kind of primarily driving the tokenomics and the governance aspects of Flow. And I work very closely with Vishal. So perhaps Vishal can go next and introduce himself as well. And then we'll hear from everyone here. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. My name is Vishal. I work on the product side on Flow as well. Nice to meet you. I joined Flow back in October 2019. Initially, when I joined as an engineer, so I was kind of working on the networking stack of Flow. And then last year, I kind of switched to product related things. So here I am. And before Flow, I used to work for Akamai as an enterprise architect, and before that, I used to work for Motorola. Nice, happy to be part of this group. We can now go down the list, I guess. Ali is next.
Sorry, you mean me?
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, wasn't able to change my name. I don't need to be anonymous. My name is Chris. I have a background in econometrics and computer science. Worked for 20 years in more traditional finance for large institutions doing their private equity programs. In 2017-18, got involved with NFTs on the Ethereum blockchain, CryptoKitties, and later on also NBA Top Shot. Met a lot of interesting people, but kept my day job. Large part of my group that I encountered in blockchain became founders and did lots of interesting stuff. And I quit my job last year to become more involved, but also to take care of our toddler and have some more time. So that's more or less my background.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Uh,
Anthony?
Yeah, thank you very much. Nice to meet you, everyone. I'm Anthony Palazzolo. I've been building on the Flow blockchain for the two last years. We've built a small community of 5,000 people, NFT collection to fund the first product, which is a NFT swap and auction service that integrates also like a chat. We also created an API for the Flow ecosystem during the hackathon, and I hope to use also this meeting to potentially propose like some common interest regarding this API, how we could, for example, like create a really specific API for the ecosystem with like really many endpoints. And before I had like a web development agency for 5 years. Thank you very much.
Amazing. Thanks, Anthony. Can we go with Anthony Darwell next?
I think he said it's 2 a.m. for him, so he might not be able to speak at the minute.
Got it. It seems like he's unmuted, but maybe we'll come back to you, Anthony, if that's okay. We can go with BZ next.
Yeah, hey everyone, I'm BC, and yeah, sorry, I'm also a bit tired, but my current occupation is that I work at Wonder Arena, where we build on-chain gaming on Flow blockchain, and I've been in the Flow ecosystem for I think more than 2 years now. I started working full-time in Web3 for 2.5 years, where I deployed some tokens, learned a lot about the space, also about different type of tokenomics. I've been participating in things like Crypto Econ Day by Filecoin, where like we really specialize in tokens and tokenomics, like really trying to like learn from like throughout all these like many cycles in crypto, like what works and what doesn't work that well. But happy to be here, and I'm really looking forward to working with all of you.
Great to have you, BZ. Thanks. Daniel?
Yeah, hello, so I'm Daniel. I guess I started, first got involved with crypto in 2017, found out about Bitcoin. I was studying economics at the same time at university, focused on macroeconomics, realized how broken the financial system is, so got more and more involved with crypto. Did a master's as well then in economics. After that, got a job at a VC incubator, and whilst working there, realized that tokens were misunderstood in the crypto space. People didn't actually like dive deep into them, and they were just used pretty much to fundraise or as a marketing tool. So co-founded Simplicity Group, which was a consultancy that focuses on designing token economies and tokenomics for projects. Have designed over 25 token economies now. And we focus on actually bringing in Web 2 and economic principles into the economic design. And even of the tokenomics, we actually look at the financials, the revenue models, et cetera, to build out the tokenomics. So we're trying to, I guess, bring in more Web 2 elements into the token economies and tokenomics side to actually make them sustainable and based on principles. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Daniel. Denise or Blue Sign?
Hello. I have background in mathematics and computer science. Mostly, I tried in my life working in telecommunications. Then I did some startups, mobile gaming, mobile advertising. Then I got kind of lucky, little bit retired. Now spending most of my time in the Flow ecosystem.
Awesome. Thanks, Denise. And next we have Floatar. Is that Luca from Floatar?
Yes. Hello. Hi, this is Luca Basile from Flowbatar. And yeah, my background is web development mostly for the last 20 plus years. And I've been starting to develop on the Flow blockchain in mid-early 21. And yeah, I'm really interested in participating, especially to discuss about the storage fees and how it all can be managed, since we store all our assets and the SVG on the blockchain. And yeah, this is me.
Lovely. Thanks, Luca.
Thank you.
Can we go with Johnny next?
Hi everyone. This is Johnny from Increment. So we are building all-in-one DeFi platform on Flow since last year, early 2021. And so personally, I've been involved in the crypto industry for quite a long time. Like you can see, I would say I've been in full time here for starting from the pre-ICO age. So yeah, and I also participated and invested a lot of projects. I'm personally running some of the nodes, joining like their staking and also voting in some of the proposals. So like we do see that Flow has a great potential here, but like the tokenomics or like the thing, like the purpose of creating this group and we are joining here is trying to fix it and yeah, make it great again. So yeah, thanks for having me here. That's a brief introduction for me.
Thanks, Johnny. Thanks for being here. And then we have Lubosh. I'm
Yeah.
not sure.
You can call me Lubosh. It's okay. Or Lu is easy. So hi guys, I'm Lubosh. I work as a project manager at NuFi Wallet. My background is in IT management, and I'm involved in crypto since 2017 when I founded a crypto community in Slovakia and Czech Republic. It's called BitCoach. And I'm fully working in Web3 for 2 years since I joined NuFi. And so, yeah, I look forward to work with you guys here.
Awesome. Thanks, Lou.
Thank you.
And then we have Lucas from Deutsche Telekom.
Okay. I want to ask which one. Yeah, you basically, so first off, I'm Lucas. I'm here from Deutsche Telekom, as you're already seen, and probably here from the accent. But you basically already know my story because Daniel has the same. I stumbled upon crypto in 2017. Was a Bitcoin day trader back then and financed my studies with it. And then I got lucky and got into Deutsche Telekom's blockchain team, which was founded just 1 year before. Back then I was a consultant. That was the time when blockchain tried to fix supply chain problems and not what we have today. And today I'm here as a node operator, or basically I'm the product owner of the team that is managing our Flow node. And so I'm here from the infrastructure side. But overall, our blockchain team is focused on Web3 solutions. and infrastructure. So we have both sides, but I'm here as the infrastructure side. Yeah.
Lovely. Thanks for joining, Lucas. Now Lucas Myers.
Yeah, hello. Morning, everybody. I'm Lucas from evaluate.xyz, or formerly evaluate.market, one of the blockchain or smart contract engineers over there. So yeah, I've been in the blockchain space for professionally for almost 2 years, and have been a avid fan of the space for much longer. But yeah, very excited to be here and to contribute.
Awesome. Thanks, Lucas. Next is Nishanta, if it's not too late for him.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, nice to meet you all. My name is Nishanta, but most people call me Nish. I am the co-founder of Flowverse, which is the central hub for all things Flow blockchain. We've also recently launched our own NFT marketplace on the Flow blockchain. I've got a background in economics, actuarial science, and data analytics. And how I got into crypto, yeah, I stumbled upon it in 2017, like most of you guys here. But I really got into it in 2020, and then discovered NBA Top Shot, fell in love with it, and then participated in the Flow ICO, and yeah, then was built Flowverse. So it's been about 2 to 3 years since we built Flowverse. But looking forward to working with all of you.
Amazing. Thanks for joining, Nishant. Thanks for being
Yeah,
here.
no worries.
And then we have RB or Redanica.
Hey everyone. Yeah, my name is Reda. So my background is I'm coming from the marketing and digital space. Been working there for more than now 15 years, and I've been involved in the blockchain crypto world since 2018. And more precisely, I was involved in the Flow community since 2020. So it has been now a little bit over almost 3 years now. Yeah, and I've been passionate about this community. I see a lot of potential on the Flow blockchain, but I also think that there are some things to do, especially from the tokenomics side, in order to really harness this potential. And I'm just looking forward to work with all of you here.
Awesome. Thanks, Reda. And then we have Sean Robb from Dapper Wallet.
Hi, everybody. Yeah, so my name's Sean. I think my crypto story started in 2015. I think is when I first bought, mostly just someone convinced me to do it. So I kind of started diving in from that angle. Joined Dapper Labs about 2.5 years ago at this point, and I've been running the Dapper Wallet as engineering manager. Just recently shifted over into a product role on the Flow side. So very excited to meet everyone here on the call, and very excited to dive into this problem, see what we can do.
Awesome. Thanks for joining, Sean. And I think we had skipped Anthony, if I'm not wrong, earlier. Is your system back, Anthony? Okay, no problem. It's good to have you here, Anthony. And if someone wants to kind of read the description, many of you might already know him, but I think he's from Trader Flow, has been in economics and macroeconomic advisory for over 15 years. And it's a pleasure to have you here, Anthony. Awesome. Just like Vishal said in the chat, I think this group is super diverse, and we are very excited to hear from everyone as to like what their priorities for tokenomics is looking like today when it comes to Flow. And perhaps like we can spend a few minutes just kind of talking about what we think are the biggest problems or the biggest opportunities in the tokenomics area, so that we have some kind of agenda or like a rough idea of what we are going to work on in the future, in the coming months. And maybe I'll start. I think two things that I've been working on like through this year so far. One is the idea of managing unbounded state growth and kind of avoiding like the state bloat situation. Of course, there are like many kind of engineering ways of achieving that, but we kind of started pondering if we can find an economic solution to the problem, at least like in the short term to midterm, if we can solve this problem economically. And therefore, we introduced a flip on sort of changing the storage fee and changing the minimum balance requirements, which essentially alters the incentives for anyone to store data on chain, and kind of incentivizes folks to delete or remove kind of stale data from the chain and kind of prevent that unwanted, undesired state bloat situation. So I feel like that is one problem that I would like to kind of dive into further with this group. And the other one is fine tuning the transaction fees. And there are like kind of multiple reasons to think about that. And at the top of my head, I feel transaction fee uh, is a very key kind of utility parameter for the flow token. It is like a primary way that sort of creates the demand for flow token. So improving the use cases, improving the utility has been like sort of is a key concern as far as I am concerned. And secondly, transaction fee also kind of fits into that entire inflation equation. If we want to kind of address inflation in future, perhaps like that needs to come from an increased transaction fee in future. The transaction fee today is like superbly low compared to other networks, because of which we are not able to kind of cover the rewards that we need to pay out to node operators through the fees that is collected every epoch. And perhaps like increasing that over the next few months or years would be helpful in controlling that or managing that inflation part. But again, these are just like my kind of personal beliefs. And I would love to hear from everyone here what you think are the key priorities, and perhaps we can then kind of publish a little note for the wider community as to what this group thinks about the key priorities in terms of tokenomics for the Flow blockchain. But over to you. The floor is open, so feel free to start talking. Lubosh.
Thank you. I'm sorry if I missed the first thing because my internet dropped for a second. But to me, I think that staking is really complicated in Flow. Operating a staking node and also staking for a user. I can imagine that if operating staking node would be easier, that even smaller communities could create a node and run staking, let's say, operator, or I don't know how to call it. Then they can attract more users. They would not force them, but ask them to stake the flow to their nodes, and it would bring also more users, more community to the flow.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure Vishal has like an opinion on this.
I just had a question for you, Lubos. Do you mean staking is complicated in terms of the logistics of doing it, or actually the minimums that need to be reached?
Minimum stake.
Got it. Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, I've heard that from a few other folks as well. So yeah.
Yeah. And I think this is kind of added as one of the priorities on our GitHub page for TWG already, like the minimum staking requirements. So very well pointed out. It's well noted by us. Let's go with Ali Cat.
Yeah, it was just a question on Lou. You mean the minimum staking? Because I don't completely understand this topic. You mean the minimum stake that you need to have before you can start to run a node?
Yeah, exactly.
So not necessarily the delegating or.
No. For users, there is no minimum stake if I'm correct.
No.
But yeah, for a node operator. Plus, but for the users, it can be what can be easier is these not okay. Epochs are okay because epochs are used everywhere, but the delay. I think the delay is too long since they unstake. Then they have to wait a long time. Then they can withdraw it. I'm sorry, I'm not 100% sure. I haven't studied it recently, but as far as I remember, it was the duration of the unstaking or staking itself. It takes a long time for the user as well.
Reda? Hi, Reda, your hand is raised.
Yeah. Just to come back to what you asked for KC, I think from my perspective, one of the main issues in the economics of flow today is, as you said, the inflation. But at the same time, I think it's also linked to the stacking rewards that we are paying to the delegators, which are, in my perspective, are too high today. And you have the vast majority of the flow users today are stacking their flow tokens, and therefore they are not using the flow tokens in the network. And this is a big issue in my sense, because this is when you don't have this flow tokens which are circulating within the network for usability, for buying NFTs, for whatever, for DeFi, for example. And DeFi is one of the things that I think in Flow we are a little bit behind, and we need really to catch up. So we have too much people stacking their Flow tokens, and therefore there is no incentivized to really grow the network in terms of usage and then make every participant in the network being in a win-win situation. And this is an issue for me, seeing that much people stacking their flow tokens without really using them in the network. We need to crack this one and find a way, maybe to, I don't know, maybe to reducing the stacking reward, but find a way to make this flow token circulation within the network.
Absolutely. And I think the staking rewards and inflation are kind of very closely related, and these need to be addressed together. And maybe at some point, I would love to, maybe in the next meeting or so, I would love to present like the like an inflation model that I had worked on a couple of months ago, where you kind of like through hit and trial, you try to like get to a lower inflation by altering the staking rewards, changing the minimum staking requirements, etc., and you try to kind of get to say a 3.5% inflation or like a lower inflation. Would love to maybe take everyone through that and get some feedback. But for now, Johnny.
Oh, all right. Yeah. So, I think like first regarding Radar's question, I think so for proof of stake network like Flow, like you have to have at least more than 2/3 of the token stake to secure the network and secure the consensus. Otherwise, it won't work here. So, like just as Lucas Mills mentioned, like we think. Like you need to have some kind of liquid staking tokens here. At the same time, you can secure a network and earning some staking interest, but at the same time, you can use it as collaterals, use it as a liquidity, and to make it flow in the flow ecosystem. So that's like what Increment has built. Like there is a liquid staking low tokens there, and I think also it also makes sense for onboarding more liquid staking mechanisms or companies to do this. Yeah, it's also very good for competition and for diversification. Yeah, that's I think that's my point for regarding Radar's question. For me, like I think from my perspective, before we talking about increasing the transaction fee and also the storage fee, yeah, we should do that to get rid of state bloating problem. But like before we talking about that thing, I think my question is why don't we have any like a gas fee market right now on Flow? What I mean is like for now, like every transaction on Flow, regardless of its competition limit, its complexity, like they are like it looks like the mempool is the validator is taking transactions from mempool in the FIFO space, like first come, first serve, right? So which is really not good. Like, firstly, I don't think like every transaction is created equal. Like some of the transactions are in liquidations, that's complex, consumes a lot of resources. Some transactions just sending low tokens. So regarding the complexity level, like that different first thing. Another thing is regarding the economic level, also very different. So like take a look at the analog chains, either Solana or Ethereum, like you are seeing that like they are sorting transactions based on either based on their base fee or based on their total gas they are willing to pay to the validator. So I don't think such kind of thing, the gas fee market living on flow yet, but I think it's really crucial to the whole economics. Because like for now we see that like the amount of inflated flow tokens they are minting out of thin air, but actually the mechanism there is we first need to deduct the whole gas fees we collected from the past epoch, and if that part of the difference still very big enough, then you need to mint flow tokens and reward to the stakers, to the validators, right? But what if like here is a very efficient and competitive gas market, then validators they are going to receive competitive returns from transaction fees. So you're going to mint much less flow tokens. So the inflation program is also going to benefit from this perspective. That's my point of view. Anyway.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Sean.
Yeah, this could be a thread that maybe I'm just lacking some knowledge, but it does feel like there's a information gap from how many flow is being issued or created versus how much is collected via transaction fees, and how much flow is staked versus how much flow is available. And I think we have good ideas of targets that we think make sense, but it could be a part of a visibility problem, right? Where there's maybe assumption of more flow tokens are being minted than actually are, or how much transaction fees are actually being collected to pay out. And so I'm curious if others feel like there's this visibility problem, because I think if you look at like Ethereum as a chain, there's a lot of ways that they show how much ETH is being burned versus how much ETH is being sent out to pay for fees. Yeah, and I think individual fees are very, very, very cheap, right? But I think understanding how much is collected overall versus minted, or if we're doing different things to pay out validators. So I'm curious if we see that visibility problem as a part of this working group discussion, or how we want to try and tackle that as well.
Yeah, just maybe continuing on to that discussion in the chat. But that's a fair point, Sean. And we collect about 50 flow tokens per epoch, but we issue 1.35 million every epoch as of now. That's why there's a flip out, which I think we brought out in February or March, which is around kind of increasing the transaction fee by a factor of 100. That also doesn't change the game. Like from 50 flow, we'll start collecting like 5,000 flow, but we mint or issue 1.35 million flow tokens. But it's sort of a step in that direction, perhaps.
No, and that's like, sorry to jump onto it, but I think even just having those numbers be more visible and more public, no matter how bad they are or how bad we think they are, I think having them visible is a great way to kind of point to how we're going to tackle the problem and why we want to do different things.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think like I joined the crypto space because I don't trust banks, right? So I don't trust chains either. And if someone's not making a very public dashboard, I'm gonna assume not necessarily positive reactions from that. So I'm going to assume everything's getting minted versus what's actually being distributed via transaction fees. So I have that in my head. So just as a thought.
Understood. Yeah, it's sorry, maybe I misunderstood that. So in terms of sharing the data more publicly, we are already kind of working on a dashboard which will go on the top of the Tokenomics landing page, like a dedicated page, and hopefully it'll be out like pretty soon. But there, like all the sort of real-time data would be updated on these around these numbers and many more. But awesome, great And I would love for this group to also review the tokenomics landing page, and I will come to that. Perhaps like we'll send out what we have written as a draft so far and get your inputs on what metrics should appear there, what language we should be talking in. Meanwhile, we have Lucas from Deutsche Telekom.
Yeah, so I I heard a lot about fees at the moment, and also node operator coming up a few times. And just want to give you the insights on the node operator side. Flow blockchain is hardware-wise a very demanding blockchain. So we have servers with 1 terabyte of RAM, and approximately this year we had a 4-month spork period, and this accumulated around like 65 terabytes of hard drive space. So normally sporks occur every month, but this time it was postponed 4 times. And so just to give you an insight, this was a unusual but a very high how to say, yeah, very high hardware demand that you can guess cost approximately the same much in hardware. And yeah, just to give you insight on this, Flow blockchain is also very demanding on the node operator side. So it's, yeah, the balance is very hard to find. And obviously I would first agree with raising the fees, so that it makes more sense to give the validators all the rewards that we receive.
Yeah. And Vishal, do you want to respond to this?
I have answered to half of your question, which is like we are working actively on the performance of the node itself so that it doesn't like need so much of hardware resources and brings down the cost. I have shared with you the link that we just posted, which is like how we plan to do this. But the other part is, which you're totally right, which is like that's just one part of the equation, but the other part is that raising the transaction fees to kind of offset that cost, which I guess is part of this scope.
Mm-hmm.
Daniel, we'll go with you next.
Yeah, so I just wanted to echo Sean's point. That was sort of going to be my point as well. I think when designing a token economic system, you need to have all the numbers in front of you. You need to be aware of what's going on. And it's, at least for myself, when I dove in, there was multiple different resources, and it wasn't really clear exactly which one was the most up to date, what exactly was accurate information. And with that, it's very hard to actually design an economic model that's going to be sustainable and work in the long term. I think one other thing to mention from these discussions is a lot of the focus, as Lucas just said, has been on the validators. I think one thing to note as well is that validators aren't the only people within the ecosystem. And I don't mean this in terms of increasing fees, but in terms of the redistribution and the inflation going completely to validators, I think there could be a way to perhaps incentivize people to actually use the ecosystem, and you could incentivize more users with that as well, as opposed to just the validators. So I don't know exactly how that could be done, but something like a GLP model from GMX, whereby you don't need to just stake. If you're actually part of the ecosystem, you get some form of rewards, could be something to think about at least.
Yeah, on point number 1, like definitely we are going to release that dashboard and those numbers kind of more publicly very soon. On the second one, I feel like we perhaps need inflation and rewards as a separate topic because like everyone would have like a ton of ideas around that. But point taken and noted. And hopefully we can have like a dedicated session on this soon. That'd be my intention. And then we have Ali, Kat, or Chris.
Yeah, just some more questions that I'm sure I'm able to look up somewhere. But raising the fees it sounds like a solution to what Lucas just mentioned. But all the fees go to the node operators, right? So it does nothing to alleviate the inflation. So is my understanding. So it doesn't really solve this. And is anything burned on the blockchain right now?
I can briefly answer that question. Although Denise, did you raise your hand to answer this question?
Yeah. Actually, I was gonna say it's like it's not even going to node operators. It's like I think mostly going to delegators. So it's doesn't even like raising the fees solves the Lucas problem. In my opinion, like it is delegation is like huge. So it's like actually it is something like this, like running a node versus delegating your coins to a node has like very small difference. I think like 2.5% or something like this, the difference. So it's I'm not sure like how running a node can be viable if it is not love of flow.
But it scales well, I assume. So the more you get delegated, you don't have a lot more
You
costs.
get more, but like if you delegate to somebody, it's like you get like 97.5% of the reward. If you run a node with like 1 terabyte of RAM, you get like only 2.5% extra. So it's like it's a not running node is a little bit. Sorry, it's 8%. So it's a bit of passion.
Well, it always sounded like a reasonable amount to me as someone who delegates, but
But maybe to chime in, you're right. Our business case directly scales with the delegation. So the more delegation we have in our node or ourselves, the more we earn.
and
Yes.
you don't need significantly more hardware, I assume.
No,
No,
it doesn't scale like that. It's just
exactly.
Yeah.
So the
Yeah.
more you get delegated, so there's scaling benefits. Yes.
Mhm.
Can I ask another question about the state bloat that you mentioned earlier? So
Can I answer your original question? Just want to kind of make sure that everyone understands this. I think right now we were talking about two things. One was around what you asked, like about how we kind of collect transaction fees and where it goes. Essentially, just to make sure that everyone understands this, based on the 5% of rewards that we want to give out to node operators annually, and 5% is 5% of the total supply. Every epoch, we decide the target rate of rewards. Let's say based on the 5% of total supply, we decide that 1 million flow tokens need to be distributed to the node operators in this epoch. We don't issue those exact number of tokens as new tokens. First, we collect everything. The protocol kind of collects all the transaction fee that was collected in the previous epoch. Let's say that was out of 1 million that we want to kind of give out as rewards, perhaps like 100,000 tokens are collected as transaction fees. Then the protocol issues 900,000 new tokens. Those get added and those get distributed amongst the node operators based on the weights that they have in the system. Weights are determined by the stake that they have as a proportion of the total stake in the ecosystem, and that is how we kind of do it. We don't burn. We don't have a burn policy. We have never burnt any tokens apart from burning of bonus tokens, which was always kind of held out of the supply equation anyway. But normally, like Flow has never burnt any part of the fees. Do we need to consider a burn on transaction framework as a potential framework in future? Perhaps that's a discussion topic for this group, but like today we haven't so far we haven't burnt anything. And I think the second thing that Denise was pointing out to, and I also kind of agree with like partially agree with that, is that delegators are able to take lesser risk than node operators and yet kind of achieve nearly this like very similar level of profits compared to node operators. And I feel like for that we need to consider uh, the cost of operating a node very carefully, and kind of add it to the equation to make sure that node operators, uh, besides being able to recover the costs that they pay to kind of operate these nodes, also get like a little more in terms of the rewards compared to a delegator. I feel like there has to be a difference. Some chains allow the operators to choose what that take rate between the operators and delegators is. We have just kind of fixed that parameter at 8% to 19, like 92%, 8% ratio. Perhaps like we just kind of revise that parameter in future. Perhaps we let the operators or the delegators kind of compete for that number. It is configurable, but Johnny, are you saying it's configurable by the operators themselves? I thought we have kind of locked that value in for now, but it can be
No,
changed.
the thing is like the 8% thing is fixed in the smart contract. But like there is a function like only admin. I mean the service accounts they have authority to change that number. Yeah, I think like also the contracts can be upgradable. So which means like you can allow the node operators to specify their cut, their personal car in the future. That's totally doable, and other chains are doing.
Absolutely, yes. And now we can, Chris, we can come back to you, the question that you wanted to ask.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Just a comment on this. I was just wanting to say in chat, as I understand, there's not that many validators. So if you allow them to compete on the cut that they take, it might just lead to a end solution where just a few very large validators that take most part of the delegations because they can provide it at the most profitable rate. But I just wanted to leave that out there. I had a question about state bloat because you mentioned it's becoming an issue, but so to pay for storage, you put the responsibility on the account of the holder. So I do something in Flovatar. We have a number of items there, and I have to hold the minimum amount of flow to make sure I hold these NFTs and whatever. So I was just wondering if what you really meant with state bloat and how you could how this is addressed at the moment. Well, let me rephrase this. If you put responsibility for state bloat at the holder side of items or whatever it is, I don't see how this is going to work if you increase the costs for storage. So wouldn't you want to increase the cost of let me what do you exactly mean with state bloat here? All the items that exist on the blockchain?
Correct. I think Vishal, do you want to jump in for this one?
Yeah, state bloat is exactly what you said. All the things I can store in my account. Basically, I can store 1 million NFTs and a lot of data on my account, and this becomes state that the node has to actually store. That's actually makes, and like the structure, the design that we have, execution node kind of stores all this state. So it kind of keeps on increasing the hardware requirements on that as the state grows. And technically, it can be unbounded, like there's no upper limit to it. So it can be infinite and basically overrun the node's hardware. That's what we meant by state bloat. And the way to kind of control it is by having storage fees and revising those storage fees to kind of make sure there is incentive to actually not have a state bloat.
Yeah, and I just wanted to fetch this link and share it in the chat. This is the flip that I was mentioning that kind of proposes changing the storage fee or like the minimum balance requirements aimed at sort of managing this unbounded, uncontrolled state growth in future.
I'll read that, but so it's very low now, less than one flow. I think we have to hold on our account for holding many NFTs. So even if you make that 10 flow or 100 flow, how is it gonna impact the bloat? Because as a user, I don't really care about those amounts. So
when you say user, are you saying like end user or like a developer?
yeah, so but the developers, they don't get hampered by increasing the storage cost. Is more what I'm about. Do they? Because it's mainly the accounts that hold the items.
Yeah, like since developers like create like dApps create the maximum number of accounts, we want them to be kind of more mindful of the storage that they use on chain. Uh, uh, and like there are like once an account is created with kind of some data, there is no incentive today per se like to not have that data on chain, but we want to sort of alter that, perhaps like saving the SVG files of NFTs on chain is not the best way to go about like in future. Perhaps like just the hash of the NFT needs to be stored on chain, while the SVG can be stored on an IPFS. So I feel like those incentives we want to kind of bring about and change. And but like if you think that it's not going to matter, if it's not going to like change anything, feel free to add to the flip discussion. That is exactly what we want from the community, like based on your personal experiences or based on like the experiences of users or developers or wallets. If you have like new insights to bring in, we would really welcome that.
Okay, yeah, this is what this question was about, but I'll read this and also comment if I can. Just that are the developers' accounts so much more? Do they hold so much more items than the end users? So, for instance, Flovatar, do the Flovatar team are they severely penalized by this increase in storage fees, or are the users of Flovatar or Topshot on their dApp accounts penalized? Because then it doesn't really work. Is more my comment.
Would love for Luca to jump in here.
Yeah, if I can jump in, for me the approach to increase the storage fees is correct, because we need to give more values, because right now it costs even less to store something on the Flow blockchain than take an S3 bucket. So it doesn't make sense, and I agree that it needs to be increased because it's valuable space that and we want to increase the price for it. At the same time, the approach of needing to have a certain amount of flow in the user account to store that NFT, it's confusing also for the user, because if I want to receive an NFT that has already been minted, and if that NFT needs some storage, I need before to load the flow on that account, and then I can send it to him. And for any user to be active and to be participating and to interact with NFTs that are a bit bigger, they will need to fill in their account with Flow. And of course, with Dapper wallets is even more complicated. Refilling up automatically the flow in my account, but I can't spend one flow because 0.9 is needed for the storage, and so I don't really have one flow. I can spend 0.1 flow, and the other I need to keep it in my account, and the user doesn't know all of that and doesn't need to know. So it's really confusing. What I suggested, and other people as well in that thread, is that instead I think we should let the person who creates that NFT pay for the amount of storage fees. But once you pay for that amount and you pay for the storage, the NFT itself should be be possible to pass it freely to anyone, even if they have zero flow in their account, because the storage fee was paid at the beginning. And then maybe we could do like garbage collection. If you burn that NFT and you free up space, you will get in return the storage fee that was paid for creating that NFT. In this way, you can create also like a small economy that someone will just collect recycling. It will go and collect all the NFTs that are using a lot of storage fees and will get flow in return. And I think this might work much better also from a user point of view, that they don't need to know the amount of fee. And because right now, if we increase the storage fees, then a lot of accounts will be broken and will not work, will not be able to do anything unless they add more flow to their account. And it's not always as easy and as intuitive to explain to people and to anyone. While in the other approach, if we let the creator of that NFT pay when you create the NFT, then you somehow lock, the system would be similar because you lock a certain amount of flow, but you lock it in the NFT, not really in the account. So I think this approach would work much better, in my opinion. And we could also scale it up and make it pay much, much more in the future. We can even say one flow for 10 kilobytes. That would be totally fine. But at least I know when I create it and I don't have to worry about it anymore. At least that's my point of view.
Yeah, that does sound ideal, Luca. And I'm thinking of this in like a kind of a phased manner. Like, and I definitely would like to work on this as kind of the next step. But just in the interest of time, I want to touch upon like a few things, just kind of administrative stuff. Uh, we want to sort of have GitHub as the sort of the document management tool for the member details, the meeting schedules, minutes and recordings of the meeting, and hope everyone is okay with that. And here's the link in the chat. And feel free to update the doc. Like I've added all of your descriptions, and feel free to change that if you think that if I haven't done justice to that description. But if anyone has a challenge with that, please raise that. Second, we want to just agree on like the best means of communication. So I propose that we use two sort of means of communication. Perhaps like we can send out emails for kind of document reviews or like sort of the meeting invites, etc. While for a wider discussion or like a more kind of ongoing discussion, we can set up a Discord channel where all of us will be added, and maybe we can use that thread for like a day-to-day discussion on tokenomics topics. Hope that works for everyone. And then in terms of the meeting cadence, I was thinking that we set up a meeting every quarter to kind of redefine the agenda and things like that. But of course, we also set up like ad hoc meetings when and if they are required more frequently. But like in a regular way, we kind of meet every quarter, and then that kind of gives me and like other folks in the team to kind of continue on to the work that we are doing, and while this group kind of helps set the direction. If everyone is okay with that, I think these are the three kind of key things that I wanted to touch upon. Next time, I would love to also kind of talk a little bit about the size of the group and the process for adding new members. And ideally, like I propose that we keep the nomination process open. And every time we meet, maybe we spend like 5 minutes before we meet, I will be sending out the list of new nominations received, and then everyone, if they can review those nominations, and then let's say if there are 5 nominations, we vote on those at the beginning of every meeting, and then like kind of add new members. However, we would love to kind of restrict the size of the TWG, which is currently at 17 members. Maybe we can like define a max capacity of around like 25 members or so. But these are the things I wanted to touch upon. And then second last thing is we might need your networks and your support to kind of keep the community informed about the discussions that we have here. So just like kind of using your networks and support to do some GTM activities around the TWG. And the last thing would be the meeting date and time for the next time that we meet. I understand that some people faced a challenge with the sort of the awkward time of meeting that we have today, with kind of the workforce kind of distributed around the globe. But I could kind of send a like a poll request where everyone kind of chooses a slot, and then based on majority we could like choose the time and the date. But if anyone has any other inputs or ideas on this, would love to hear from you now. Okay, so perhaps the Google poll would work. Awesome.
Just a question, Casey. Just wondering if I understand well. Maybe we can also. You said, if I understand well, that you're going to open also a channel on Discord where we can maybe exchange there as well. Because if we just take one, we plan just one meeting per quarter. I don't think it's a lot, but maybe we can keep the communication flow open on Discord. And then, because we have had a lot of discussion today in this 1 hour, for example, about the idea of Johnny, about the transaction fees, the gas, how we can maybe organize this, because today is just on a FIFO based, where the validator are picking up transactions, but discussed about the stack and rewards also. So maybe just to keep the discussion going and to see some kind of action coming out of all of this, we need to keep the discussion flow open. So that's why I just want to make sure that we have this open on Discord.
100%. And that's why I wanted to kind of touch upon the modes of communication. I think two things, or like three things maybe, that I want to do as a next step from my side. Like I want to start that Discord channel so that we can kind of continue on to some topics of discussion that we have already started on. I will be updating the GitHub repo for the minutes of the meeting and sort of the recording of this call, and like just highlight the key points that we discussed. I would also want all of you to review the tokenomics landing page and the metrics that we want to kind of bring out to the public. And I think finally, I also want to collect everyone, just make sure that I have everyone's GitHub handles and Discord IDs and GitHub, because I want to kind of I want everyone to kind of review the PRs that we send out around kind of tokenomics, etc. So these are the things that I want to do from my side, and then I will propose an agenda for the next meeting and the dates and time for the next meeting, and hopefully those that agenda we can kind of discuss, so that like we have maybe 2 or 3 topics that we can really dive into the next time we meet, because today was more around like just an inaugural meeting and getting more a lot of ideas for the next 6 months or so. So that is what I want to do. But with that, thank you so much everyone for joining, and thanks for waiting 6 minutes extra on this call. We will be in touch. I'll send out emails and set up that Discord communication going pretty soon. But thanks everyone.
Thank you. Thanks everyone. Thank you, Casey.
Thank you.
Nice meeting everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Thanks, everyone.
See you soon.
Thanks.
Bye.
Cheers.